Good morning, race fans. Welcome to tonight's Old Bastards Racing League Metro Ford Cup Series, brought to you live by Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, pushing you the action, 1080p, 60 frames a second. I'm accompanied by Mason Heimbaugh here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we're going to see 195 laps from all of our competitors, hanging it wide open and seeing what they can do on the line. Mason, I know you're excited as well to be back in the booth. Should be a good night here as we get ready to kick off single car qualifying and see what these competitors can put down out there.
Yeah, James, we're going to have a really good race today. If you were here for last week's race, we had an excellent race for the 4th of July weekend. These guys came out and put out an excellent race. It was a little bit of a shake-up throughout the race. We had a little bit of a shake-up for the final three in the race here, but it was overall just a great race, and I think we're going to see a really good race here today.
Yeah, last week we had a little bit more cautions than we expected. We had 5 cautions for 20 laps, 14 lead changes with 12 different leaders for that 2-hour event, 195 laps at Chicagoland. Joshua Robinson was able to bring it home on the tippy top of the podium. Dwayne MacArthur brought it home second, and then Andrew Hess brought home a third. So not a lot of very unexpected ending to what we expected to see yesterday. But it was good to see those guys running very, very clean, keeping it sharp, and overall 5 cautions over a very long race. Not that bad as these guys go 200 laps. That's a whole lot of miles out there at one go, and keeping it clean the whole way is very impressive. That's 293 miles is what these drivers did last week, excuse me.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys are going to do today. I mean, after an impressive race last week, and with we'll say minimal cautions that were given to these racers throughout that race last week, I think a lot of these drivers are going to come into this race today just very confident, very ready to put on a good race today. And as we said last week, all of these drivers here are very experienced, and they're very good at what they're doing. And I think we're going to see that come out today as well.
Yeah, OBRL, they have a very, very strict minimum incident per lap point system in effect, basically saying, hey, if you find yourself involved in so many incidents so often, you will have your machine parked or receive EOLs for the series. So these guys hold clean racing at the highest possible standard. You also see, I think, just one rookie out there today. 2 rookies. We've got Jonathan Green in the 111, Donald Giffen in the 175 are our 2 rookies. So you'll notice they're the only 2 drivers out there with triple-digit numbers, meaning these guys are newer to the OBRL series. They've got to prove that they're going to be good, clean, consistent drivers before they're allowed up there with the big dogs. So you'll see those guys having to skip qualifying and start from the back, but good to see a couple more rookies coming out today as well.
Yeah, and it's always great to see new racers coming out here and just trying to find a new league that kind of suits them and works for them. And I think that these guys are going to find a nice home for them here because all of these drivers here, they're all very experienced. They're very knowledgeable, and they're all willing to share kind of knowledge between one another and help each other learn and grow and put on these just excellent races week in and week out. It's just really great to see.
Yeah, I agree, Mason. A rising tide lifts all boats. All these guys are friends on and off the track. They usually run, I think it's 3 or 4 actual races a week together, but even on their off days, they're out here practicing in their different series. OBRL has a bunch of different leagues they put on throughout the week. ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, the Premier Cup Series you find every Sunday morning. So a lot of these guys, that's their TV time. Instead of coming home and watching an episode of something, they hop on the iRacing service and bang out some laps with their friends. So very cool to see. Now, last week, the Manufacturers' Cup changed a little bit. It looks like Toyota was in the lead last week. They retained that lead. They moved to 736 points in their Manufacturer Cup. Chevy still in second place with 720 points. And Ford slowly lagging behind with 655. So Ford still has a lot of races left to get out there and try and score some points for the manufacturer. But right now, Toyota and Chevy doesn't have much separating. Only 16 points separate the top 2 for the Manufacturers' Cup.
Yeah, you know, and Ford's really going to have a lot of work cut out for them in order to regain a lot of those points. They're really lagging behind as far as points is concerned right now. Right now they have 655 points total, and they're just behind Chevy with 720 points. They've still got quite a bit of time left before they can make any sort of real gain there, I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it might take them a few races even before they're even starting to be competitive again in this series.
Yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of luck and just seeing how the cards fall. We are on round 21 of the series so far out of 37 rounds total. So still lots of racing left for all these drivers to score some more points and try and get out there. But they'd rather be doing it sooner than later. Granted, it's only about 80 points difference right now between Toyota and Ford. So if they can just keep getting out there, score a bunch of top 10s, maybe some top 5s, and stay consistent, they will find themselves in a better position as the season runs on to get out front.
And hopefully we'll see that happen for these Ford guys. You know, given that it is the Ford Cup Series, you really want to see, you know, kind of the Ford team come out on top and at least be a contender here. And right now, the team's probably going to be hurting a little bit. Everyone in that team is probably thinking to themselves, what can we do to kind of improve a little bit and make ourselves kind of stand out here in the field a little bit more? And they've got a lot of competition. We have Chevy with holding majority of the field here.
All right, mates, we're going to get ready to take it to the grid for tonight's feature event, the Metro Ford Cup Series, brought to you by Old Bastards Racing League, one of the best leagues out on the iRacing service. Tom Ogle will be starting on pole today in the number 11. Josh Robinson starting second. Greg McDaniel will be starting third. Dean Greer fourth. Pete Kopko Cocoa Puffs will be starting fifth today. Dakota Pischke sixth. Lil Scales will be starting 7th place. Gary Kipper will be on 8th on the line. Brian Glass will be gridded up 9th. Dwayne MacArthur, our favorite fast Canadian, will be starting 10th. Henry Besaw starting 11th. Robert Crisco starting 12th. Then you've got Steve Thompson starting 13th, the Mule in the number 67 machine. Bruce Pearson starting 14th. Al Turner will be starting 15th. Brian Lindsay starting 16th. You've got Michael Everhart starting 17th. Mike Schrader 18th. Brian Lynch will be starting 19th. Travis Rogers 20th. Dodd Hoskins 21st. Patrick Milligan 22nd. John Hastings starting 23rd. Eric Whiting 24th. And we're going to keep going back. Then you've got our two rookies, Jonathan Green, Donald Griffin, both starting 25th and 26th in their three-digit cars. But it's time to go racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Let's see what these guys can do today. I think we're going to have a really interesting race here today. Given last week and the performance that everyone put on last week, I think it's going to be another excellent race today. Hopefully we don't see as many, well, I don't want to say as many cautions because really there wasn't that many last week, but hopefully these drivers can just put on a super consistent and clean race today, and hopefully we can see a little bit of shakeup, whether it's the team points or even just in the final top three.
And when talking to Dwayne MacArthur, the number 97, he told us before we broadcasted our first event with OBRL, it's very common to see green flag runs here with their series. So maybe last week could have been a little bit of an outlier. I'm not rightly sure yet with 5 cautions. I believe by their standards, that's a lot of cautions as they're kind of used to going green from start to finish with maybe a sprinkle of cautions thrown in the mix. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen as our iRacing pace car Mustang, the Ford, leads these cars around. And we're going to get this party started. A 1.5-mile racetrack known for eating up tires in the hot Atlanta sun. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen out here today as we get a massive field of 26 drivers out on course. It looks like Donald Griffin may have problems in the number 175 as he is not showing out on track at this time.
Yeah, hopefully we can see what's going on there with Donald Griffin and see if he either joins the track later on here. Hopefully that doesn't affect him too much as far as where he lies in the pack. But looking at the front of the field here, we have a lot of last week's contenders all right up here in front again. We have a pace car heading back in as we head into turn 1.
Here we go. It's about to get exciting. Green flag is out. Tom Ogle with a great start. He's on the inside of the number 11 with the number 11 Toyota. To his right, Josh Robinson in the number 23. Behind him, here comes Greg McDaniel, Dean Greer, all trying to get up to position early on before they start dropping in single file. But a massive pack of cars shuffling around trying to find their spot here. As it looks like that's going to be Greg McDaniel. He's on the inside while the rest of the field's starting to form up a high line. To his right side, you've got Josh Robinson just in front, and then Dean Greer able to get around him. As there goes Greg McDaniel charging through the start-finish line, taking the alternative route through the grass. No harm, no foul. Everyone able to get through that clean.
Yeah, everyone's doing just an excellent job right now. We're seeing actually a little bit of off-track.
Yeah,
that's
there. Dean Greer, and the number 92 got just a little bit loose and sent it slideways. He's able to regain control of his car and get back out there.
Yeah, and everyone else is just doing an excellent job so far, coming off right off the rip here. Going into these first few laps, we have Tom Ogle leading the front of the pack here with Josh Robertson and Pete Kupko right behind him, second and third respectively. And these guys, I mean, it's, you know, coming from last week and seeing them come into this race today, it's just, it's really great. These guys are really excellent drivers. They all know what they're doing very well. These guys are, I think, man, it's amazing to be here, and it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, a lot of talented drivers out here. Again, they're very, very peculiar on who they allow out here. They want good, clean racing, and they're not looking for numbers over the quality of racing. As we see right now, lap 4, nothing's really been settled yet. Right now, Tom Ogle with a commanding lead on the rest of the pack, but everyone behind him still battling for position. You see Gary Kipfer and Scales battling back and forth, trying to get a spot working. And right now, it seems like everybody's just trying to get their groove sorted and figure out where it's going to fall on this this run. As we're going to hopefully see guys go single file a little bit, try and click off some laps. But right now, everybody trying to gain some position, win and where they can, and no one looks like they're going to yield yet.
Yeah, it's really, you know, it's interesting to see what these guys are doing to try and figure out where they're most comfortable at and where they feel most comfortable trying to overtake. Right now, you know, Tom Ogle is just leading the pack right now. He doesn't have a whole lot of competition right now to deal with. He's got Josh Robertson and Pete Kopko and actually Brian Glass kind of in a little pack of their own right behind them. They've got a massive gap to close in order to even put any pressure on him right now. So Tom's going to be feeling pretty comfortable right now, I think, for at least a few laps.
Yeah, all these guys still charging hard. We're going to take you on board with Pete Kopko, a.k.a. Cocoa Puffs. He's chasing down Josh Robinson's Toyota, the number 23 machine, and still absolutely hanging out early on this run. We're expecting the fuel window to be about lap 50 to 60. They have unlimited tires out here today. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they're trying to charge for before these tires say no thank you. As you see, Kopko loses the spot to Brian Glass, the number 87 in the Kodak-sponsored Chevrolet. So Pete doing his good job to keep some tires underneath them and keep charging along.
Yeah, and you see a lot of these drivers, too, in the front of the pack. Honestly, a lot of these drivers, they're all using kind of the same line. They're all using that bottom line going into the corner and then kind of heading up towards the top of the track there, coming out of the corner. And it's really interesting to see just kind of how coordinated a lot of these drivers are without actually, you know, having any sort of real communication with each other, you could say. You know, everyone is very respectable about passing and giving each other distance and not being too close and too aggressive with one another. It's okay to be aggressive sometimes, but you see it a lot of times in other series where drivers are just overly aggressive and causing cautions left and right. And it can turn into really quickly.
Yeah, smooth is fast, fast is smooth. Look at Brian Glass, the number 87 Chevrolet, charging up the front. Right now, Glass finds himself up 7 positions from his qualifying spot. So started off 9th, currently in 2nd place today. Well done to Glass. We'll see if he's got anything for Tom Ogle, who's led so far every lap here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and still maintains about a 0.3 second gap over second place as he is charging hard with no sign of slowing up.
Yeah, and that's you got to wonder too what that's gonna how it's gonna affect his fuel savings, how it's gonna affect his tire wear. He's definitely pushing that car as hard as he can right now, and I think with no support behind him, he doesn't really have a whole lot of draft support, actually none at this time. He's gonna be really kind of playing a little bit of a strategy game here, and how he's gonna maintain that throughout this race, especially going into the first pit once that comes up here in the next couple 40 laps or so.
Now Tom Ogle, no stranger to running up front. He's got 2 wins so far this season. He averages a pole finish 31% of the time, and his average finish is on the podium or very close to it. So it's interesting to see. He's a very, very fast driver. Now that being said, he has found his fair share of incidents. He averages about a 3x per race. So he's doing a good job trying to get that just a little bit lower. And granted, that's only a 0.018 incident per lap. So well below the limit of what OBRL considers their driving standard. So Tom Ogle, no stranger running up front, and he's showing how and why now in the number 11. But here comes Brian Glass, the number 87. Glass is charged up hard early on in the race. We're going to see what happens as this run develops. Is Glass going to stay in tow? Or is he going to make a move here on Ogle before their fuel window opens up? But right now, it looks like most of the field's kind of stretched back single file and taking it a little bit easier.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the drivers towards the front kind of just go single file, and we're starting to see a little bit of a shake up here in the middle of the pack. Here we have Travis Rogers in the number 72 car. He is behind Al Turner in the number 76 car, and in front of them is Dean Greer in the 96. They're kind of in a little three-way battle right now. See, I got one of those cars wrong. I was looking at the number 92 car. It was actually, no, that was Dean Greer.
Yeah, you got Dean Greer in the mix. He's the number 92. Al Turner was in the 76. And then we're watching Travis Rogers, number 72. He's running the high line while Dean is running the low line. Both guys trying to carry as much momentum as they possibly can. Travis Rogers, he's been a sim racer since the late 90s. He just got back into it last year. He found the OBRL guys and absolutely loved what he found. Good competition, good drivers. He is still searching for his first win within the league. So when he's not owning a construction company in Louisville, Kentucky, he's out here with the OBRL guys, hanging it out and seeing what he can do. So that's Travis Rogers in the 72.
Yeah, and and it's coming back to a lot of these drivers that come into this league. They come from different walks of life. They all do different things for their daytime jobs, and at the end of the day, they just want to come and enjoy a race with people that they can connect with and just enjoy racing. These guys put on a great competition week in and week out, and it's excellent to see. And I think a lot of these drivers are extremely competitive, and it shows. You see a lot of these drivers are just always leading the front of the pack every week, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, and that's one thing you'll notice in the championship standing. The guys that are in the top 5, they're the ones that have completed the most races, giving themselves the best chance to try and score those points week in and week out. Allows them just to stay out there. So that way, too, when you run every race or almost all the races, if you have that one bad race, it's kind of helps your odds out a little bit more than if you're racing here and there and have a bad race. So basically padding the statistics, giving yourself as much chance as you possibly can. But this race really hasn't slowed down any for the battle for 10th. Al Turner, Travis Rogers still going side by side all the way around the racetrack and pushing hard.
Yeah, these guys are definitely they're trying to do their best right now to do whatever they can to lead this kind of front of the pack for the 10th position and beyond. Travis Rogers he's been doing a lot of work. He's up 10 positions currently from where he started, and Al Turner behind him. He's been putting a lot of pressure on him to just kind of work as hard as he can. And you're seeing a little bit of push out of Patrick Milligan in the number 18 car. He's been doing, from last week, he's been pretty decent contender, I think, in this series, and I think he's going to do it again this week. Hopefully he'll be able to pull something off here and kind of push himself further up the pack here if he can gain some assistance from some of these guys around him.
Yeah, no, as always, we'd like to thank Patrick Milligan as well for sponsoring the series with Metro Ford. Over 160 vehicles in stock, the best selection of mid-size trucks available. If you're looking for a new machine, contact Patrick Milligan. He will get you the financing that you need. So thank you, Patrick, for supporting these series, all these fantastic drivers with the Metro Ford crew, and looking forward to seeing how he does tonight. But look up front, I'm seeing some more side-by-side action. I believe that might have been Gary Kipfer. They were going too wide for a little bit. It was Kipfer, the number 68. He was going wide with Scales, going too wide for a little bit. But then they dropped back down single file and trying to get formed back in line. Here's Dakota Pischke in the number 1 car. He's working on Pete Cocoa Puffs. Now this late in the run, we're about 20 laps in the run. You're going to see some guys falling off with tires that were not able to tire save well or at all. And this is where things can get a little bit more exciting. Some guys will start to find themselves pushing up the racetrack with these tight machines. So things are going to get a little bit more heated here, a little bit closer. The paces will be different, and sometimes the passing will be harder as the tires start to tighten up on these guys.
Yeah, I agree with you, James. As you start to start to gain more laps around the track, your tire wear starts to get worse and worse every lap that you take. And what a lot of drivers will start to find is that they're not able to hold those lines going into these corners because their tire wear is just too far gone to be able to hold that line effectively enough to stay there. Your car is just kind of sliding around almost, if you will. It can get a little interesting sometimes, and you can see drivers start to kind of try and correct themselves. I think we just saw someone go down on the apron there a little bit in the back.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see that one or pick it up in live time, but look at this. Josh Robinson, our winner from last week, has taken the lead from Tom Ogle's number 11 Toyota. So still 2 Toyotas in 1 and 2, followed by Brian Glass and his Chevrolet. He's running 3rd place. But that'll be, I believe, our first lead change so far of the day. Robinson started 2nd, Ogle started 1st, and they've just kind of swapped their positions there. But now the race is getting underway, and behind them a fleet of drivers trying to catch up. Josh Robinson knows he can't extend that lead too much because he doesn't have the draft support. So it's going to allow those guys to kind of accordion back up there to him. As you see the pack charging through 3 and 4 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway as we get ready to start lap 25 of the event.
Yeah, and going back to tire wear and just fuel savings a little bit, and I think the biggest reason why we're seeing kind of a switch up here with Josh Robinson in front and Tom Ogle in 2nd now. Tom Ogle was pushing that car as hard as he possibly could for quite a few laps. And I think Josh Robertson was able to stay behind him just long enough and use that draft to kind of allow him to save some of his tire wear a little bit, save some of his fuel just enough to catch up to him and overtake him. And now it's a matter of, can he push it and can he utilize what he has left to make it stay healthy, at least until he gets into the pit lane for the first time here.
Yeah, we're seeing things start to shake up in the top 5. Dakota Pischke moving up. Brian Glass still holding on a 2nd. Pete Cocoa Puffs is going to lose the spot to Pischke. And another spot to Dwayne MacArthur in the 97 as the 97 goes low. He's got Cocoa Puffs on his outside, the number 3. It's going to be a drag race into turn 1 across the start finish as the field's going 2 by 2 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You've got Brian Glass, Dakota Pischke, that front row chasing down leaders Josh Robinson, Tom Ogle. And then you've got Dwayne MacArthur and Pete Kopko in the 2nd row as they're trying to get back single file and break it down, but I don't think anybody's really got a favorite line here yet. Everybody's searching across the racetrack, seeing where they want to run. And here comes Steve the Mule Thompson. He's in the number 67 Toyota, has moved up 7 spots up into 6th place, and a lot of racing going on here for your top 5 at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, these guys are definitely they're trying to do something here. You have, like you were saying before, a lot of these drivers are just kind of all over the track right now, trying to find a spot that works best for them. And you're seeing a lot of the drivers behind them just kind of following suit and kind of just chasing them around the line that they're trying to follow. And it's, you're seeing a little bit of a shakeup in who's leading where, but it's, it's kind of a little bit of a game of cat and mouse, and it's kind of just all over the place right now, but it's really fun to watch. And these drivers are doing a very excellent job right now of just holding whatever line that they're deciding to hold and racing as hard as they can.
Yeah, when they're going too wide this late into a run, we're about to start lap 30. The leaders are, right now we're watching Travis Rogers, the number 72. The cars are going to naturally want to drift up the racetrack on corner exit as they start rolling on the throttle. And as those cars tighten up, it'll do it a little bit more aggressively. So when you're going too wide like they are, you have to be very, very careful to avoid coming up the racetrack into your competitors and friends. Right now, Steve Rogers making it work. He may get the position here on Kopko, but Kopko has the support of that outside line. You see him getting a big push back up the front into turn 3. And then, oh man, Rogers definitely starting to tighten up. You see him drift up the racetrack, have to get off the gas just for a moment, and then a roll back on to try and get that car to rotate. As I believe we just saw Scales get bumped out of the way just ever so slightly. Al Turner's going to get the spot, moving up to 10th place. So a lot of things happening here in the top 10, and nothing for certain as these guys are slowly moving back and forth like a seesaw, trying to get their lines figured out and see where they're going to settle as this fuel run continues to develop.
Yeah, and speaking of the top 10, we have two people in 8th and 9th place right now, Travis Rogers and Patrick Milligan. They've both worked their way up. Patrick Milligan has worked his way up 13 positions, and Travis Rogers has worked his way up 12 positions. These guys are really, really, really pushing their cars as hard as they possibly can to do as much as they possibly can here today. And I think these guys are going to be a very excellent example of what it takes to actually pull that off and start from maybe not have such a great start, but you can kind of put yourself in the mindset to push as hard as you can and just drive it home.
Yeah, we've got Dean Greer. He came into pit lane a little early. He's going for the undercut here. So out of 25 drivers on track, he will be the first gentleman bringing it in and trying to put some 4 fresh Goodyears and a full tank of gas into his Chevrolet. A lot of great racing from across the board. I still don't, it's way too early to call anything as we've got guys going too wide every which way. Patrick Milligan, he's charging up the front, currently 8th place, up 14 spots from where he started. And now he's going to try and make a move on Travis Rogers. Rogers on the outside line in the number 72 machine. Milligan looking like he's going to go inside into turn 1.
Yeah, Patrick Milligan is, last week we were watching him and he was doing some pretty interesting things last week. He was putting on a very excellent race, and I hope to see him kind of up in the top 3 or maybe even the top 5 here in the next few laps. But we're getting closer and closer to that estimated pit lap here. And I think we might see a little bit of a switch up here in the front pack, but I think today the people that we're seeing here out in front in the top 10, I think they're here to stay.
Yeah, Milligan, he had a rough week last week at Chicagoland. Started second, finished 18th, even led 59 points, but he did have 8 incident points from him. Some incidents that he said, I don't really think is my fault. So he said, hopefully I don't get put in the wall again, and going to try and get out there and score some more points, because right now he finds himself 4th in points for the overall championship. He is, let's get an eye on that one. He is about 74 points behind the 96 points behind the leader, Josh Robinson, and 74 points behind Andrew Hess, who is currently 3rd in points. So Milligan, expect to see him charging hard all night long and trying to hit those marks and gain some more points out here today.
Yeah, and it's from last week. Hopefully he'll be able to kind of keep a consistent race this week and not have to deal with as many incidents that he had to deal with last week. And so far he's doing a great job of doing that so far, and I think he'll be able to do that today. but we're still early in the race, and there's still plenty of laps to go. So there's plenty of time to make mistakes, and really anyone can kind of slip up and ruin anyone's day here. So we'll see what happens.
And a lot of good racing from front to back. Right now you've got the battle for 17th on screen. That's Michael Everhart chased down by Greg McDaniel. Both of these guys pushing early. We saw them going back and forth. And in front of them you've got Henry Besaw, Dodd Hodgkins also battling for position for 15th. So across the racetrack, a lot of exciting stuff going on. And here comes Everhart chasing down Henry Besaw and the 26 machine. It is about to be a four-way battle for 15th as guys are still pushing hard from start to finish. Besaw in the number 26. He's chasing Dodd Hoskins in the 66. Behind them, Michael Everhart, Greg McDaniel, but Bruce Pearson also trying to get in the mix here.
Yeah, and we're seeing a little bit of competition coming out of the back of the pack here. With these guys that are kind of grouped up here in a little small 5-pack here. There's a little bit of a separation with the last two there, but you're seeing 4 of these guys going side by side, and then you have who's that there?
That's Dodd Hoskins right in front of the Michael Everhart's number 17 machine. He's in that lime green and yellow Ford Mustang in the 66. So you're right, you got Dodd Hoskins kind of out by himself, Michael Everhart, Henry Besaw battling back and forth, Greg McDaniel, Bruce Pearson, he's in the mix too. All those guys are going 2 by 2 for several laps, and that's allowing Dodd to get a little bit more breathing room. But now that the guys drop back in single file, Dodd's looking in that rearview mirror going, oh boy, here they come.
Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely going to have some pressure coming up on him here pretty quickly, I think. And as they don't have a lot of draft support, but as they're getting kind of closer and closer together, you're going to start to see them get a lot closer to Dodd. And I think Dodd's going to start to get a little sweaty in the hands and start to worry about what he's going to do here to maintain his position here. But again, we're getting really close to that estimated pit lap, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. Who's going to stay out, who's going to go in, what the strategies are going to be here for everyone today.
Yeah, we've only seen one machine pit so far. That was Dean Greer in the number 92. I believe Dean did have some issues early on as well, so may have been coming in to try and get some damage and assess the car of what it's doing. So everybody else still staying out, still charging hard, and a lot of exciting racing left to go. Dakota Pischke still in third, Tom Ogle second, Josh Robinson in first with about a second lead over second place Tom Ogle. So not quite sure what's going to happen here yet. There's still a lot of racing left. Patrick Milligan, he's running sixth place, leading Travis Rogers and Al Turner 7th and 8th. And just across the racetrack, things are staying pretty clean and smooth as we see Travis Rogers in 72 trying to catch up to Milligan late in this run, lap 43 of 195. These guys are about anywhere between 1 to 2 seconds off their best laps of the race as tire wear really starting to affect these drivers.
Yeah, we're seeing I'm seeing a little bit of separation between a lot of these drivers here, and I'm not sure if that's just due to just tire wear alone, or if that's just due to drivers just being a little bit more cautious because they're aware that their cars are not as stable as they were at the start of the race. Their tires are a little bit looser. They're not able to hold those lines going into these corners as much as they'd like to be able to. Their cars are starting to drift more, as you said before, and you don't want to. As you mentioned before, you don't want to have you don't want to cause an incident with another driver by going up too far and running them into the wall or running yourself into the wall. There's a whole list of incidents that you can cause by just not being careful.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Once these tires really start to get tight on these guys and get a little bit pushy going into the corners, they're unable to maintain the same pace they have been all day. So not able to run it in as hard as deep and make up those little accordion distance gaps you see develop on a raceway. And it also, you're right, gives you a little bit more reason to be careful driving it in deep of another driver. They're still going to try and keep it tight as we see Rogers and Milligan. Rogers trying to get the draft of Milligan going into turns 1 and 2. but you have to be much, much more careful diving down the inside, trying to make a pass happen, because it just takes one little moment and you can find yourself plowing up the racetrack into a good friend of yours. But it looks like Rogers, he put down a 32.97 last lap. Milligan with a 33.15. So Rogers still making good headway, trying to keep his head down and gain some more spots.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these drivers just trying to do as much as they can right now and maintain whatever position that they have. I don't think we're going to see a lot of overtaking. We're seeing a little bit of competition there out of Travis Rogers. He might be trying to take over that number 6 position from Patrick Milligan in the number 18 car.
Now, Mason, we do have guys starting their pit cycle. Gary Kipfer coming in, Greg McDaniel, John Hastings, Brian Lindsay, Steve the Mule Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur. That's a whole lot of names. Brian Lindsay, all these guys coming into pit lane to start their cycle. So we're going to start the pit cycle on lap 48 today. As the driver's going to come in for 4 fresh Goodyears and a full tank of fuel. But right now, Josh Robinson still leading the race. Tom Ogle in second place finds himself with a 1.7 second disadvantage. And Ogle has the support of Dakota Pischke, but look at that. There comes Josh Robinson into pit lane, and I believe Pischke did as well, so Ogle will stay out. Travis Rogers stays out, and then Tom Ogle is going to get another lap led here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and you know, we're going to see, I think, well, now that we're starting to see a lot more drivers start to pit in, I was going to say before we were going to see a little bit of a mix of drivers on these old tires and drivers on these new tires on the field here, but we're seeing, I think, a little over 50% of the drivers that are currently in pit lane right now. Tom Ogle is currently heading into pit lane now as well to get some fresh tires as well as some gas. And actually, it looks like the majority of the field is now heading into pit lane, and I think that's a smart move on everyone's part, trying to pit in relatively at the same time. You don't want to try and kind of play the pit strategy game too much here. I think I don't think it would help out too much unless you know what you're doing and you're confident that you can pull it off.
Yeah, we're seeing about 5 drivers have not pitted yet. Rogers, Cocoa Puffs, Everhart, Pearson, and rookie Jonathan Green still staying out. But for the most part, you're right. Most of the field come in around the same pit window. Dean Greer, he came in on lap 31 for the undercut. He finds himself in 8th place after things have started to shuffle out. He's looking to be in a good spot to be back out front for the beginning of this run. Just not sure how the tire wear is going to really affect Greer and the number 92 Chevrolet. If these guys continue green the whole way, that means he'll start falling off earlier than everyone else. So Greer may be on a little bit different tire strategy than everyone else. We're going to be seeing how it develops. As right now, Tom Ogle is side by side with Steve the Mule Thompson, and this is your battle for 7th place on screen.
Yeah, and these two drivers here today, they've both been putting on a great performance here in this race, and I think we're going to see these guys at least in probably the top 5 in the finishing standings. But it's, you know, we're seeing a lot of really strong competition come out of these drivers. Tom Ogle especially, he's suffered a little bit as far as placement in this race, but he's in 6th position, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of competition to work his way up to where he was before in that first place position. But he's got a lot of other really great drivers around him that he's going to have to kind of work around and fight for that position. And I think we're going to see a lot of great racing from these drivers here today.
So it's funny, Ogle in his, looks like that's a White Claw sponsored Toyota Camry. One of his comments is, "I get terrible fuel mileage." So he's also teammates with Josh Robinson, Andrew Hess, and Joe Brown. He does all of his own paints, and he knows they are gaudy. But right now, the White Claw machine, the Toyota, charging hard, gaining some more spots. Ogle, he's a 52-year-old from Wooster, Ohio. He raced mini stocks on dirt and pavement in the Ohio area, before 2005 when he had his daughter. So cool to see Ogle go from the real-life racing over to the iRacing service and having a bunch of fun with the OBRL guys. And I, for one, appreciate the gaudy paint schemes. That White Claw car looks great. So well done to Ogle for getting out there and charging.
You know, James, I gotta agree with you. The more gaudy the paint scheme, the better it is, in my opinion. You know, you always gotta have yourself a little chuckle when you're out here racing in these leagues. You know, you gotta have a little fun every now and then with your paint scheme.
There's no law without the claw. So we see Tom Ogle representing the brand well. Pete Kopko, Cocoa Puffs, he's moved back up to second place, but Rogers, Kopko, Everhart, and Pearson are our remaining 4 drivers that have not pitted yet. So they are still out there and going to run it all the way down to empty. So this is interesting to see just how far you can go on a tank of gas, as these top 4 drivers are showing us how much they can stretch it out here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, you know, like I was saying before, if you can pull off that strategy of staying out as long as you can and pitting and trying to make it as quick as you possibly can and get back on the track as fast as you possibly can, you can make it work. But it's not easy, and not everyone can pull it off. So it'll be interesting to see what these drivers can do here that are still out on the track and have not pitted yet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So right now, I mean, Kopko is probably a prime advantage in the number 3 machine. He's running 34 flats. He's about 2.8 seconds slower than his best of the session. So I'm not sure how it's going to affect his overall average time, but NASCAR is one of those games of averages. You don't necessarily need the fastest lap. You need the lowest average lap. So I'm not sure how much staying out is worth the fall-up of lap time for the number 3, as I expect to see him coming in pretty soon, but he stays out one more lap and starts lap 57, 58. So I'm not quite sure what the game plan is, as here comes the number 4 machine. Number 4 of Mike Schrader. Mike is trying to get his laps back. Out of all the drivers that started, you've got 18 still in the lead lap, 19 as Brian Lindsay makes his way by the leader.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of these other drivers here. On number 5, Tom Ogle, he just put down his last lap time of 31.58, and everyone in the top 4 right now, they still have not pitted yet. And right now, I think the best last lap that they had was from Travis. Actually, excuse me, it's going to be from Michael Everhart. He's going to have a lap time of 33.20. These drivers out in front, they're definitely going to be suffering in the control, or excuse me, not the control department, but in the tire wear and the fuel department. They're going to have a lot of competition coming up in their rear view mirrors here really quickly as these guys start to catch up with them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the strategy is here. Granted, these guys are all better racers than I am. That's why I'm in the booth and not out there with the gentleman. But it looks to me like they've stretched the run out 12 laps longer than their competitors started their pit windows. How long does it benefit you? Are they going to go for a less stop overall in the race while everyone else is going for a 4 stop? I'm not quite sure. Maybe these guys are going to try and stretch out to a 3 stop. Because right now, Pete, he's still out there on lap 50 or 61, excuse me, on those set of tires. He's already stayed out 13 laps longer than the competition. How long can he go before it is absolutely necessary to come in? Because right now he finds himself losing more and more time, so he's got to be planning on less pit stops than his competitors is what I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, you know, and I'm really wondering to myself what these drivers are kind of thinking, what they're gonna do here to try and maintain these spots here, or maybe they might even risk losing these positions to just stay out on the track as long as they can, given that they're not able to hold the same pace as everyone else on the field with these newer tires. It's really interesting. Honestly, you know, we may even see a case where someone might even just run out of fuel. Honestly, it's unsure at this point.
I've called races where it happened, where the lead 3 drivers kind of sputtered across the start-finish line straight in an oval, but I mean, I'm impressed. We called the pit window lap 50 to 60. Apparently, we had that one just a little bit off of what we were expecting, as we saw most of the field start their cycle around lap 48. But I mean, you've got Rogers, Everhart, Pearson, and Cocoa Puffs are still out there on lap 63. So very impressive how long they're able to hold on to it, while it looks like pretty much the rest of the field is starting to catch back up and get laps back. Now you've got 21 drivers on the lead lap, about 4 or 5 drivers that find themselves 1 lap down. As Bruce Pearson, he's going to bring into the pit lane in the number 22. Rogers, Everhart, Cocoa Puffs still out there on their original set of tires.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really brave move, I think, on their part. I think if it really works out for them, they're almost stretching it to the half. I don't want to say the halfway point of the race, but almost about the 2/4 mark, or excuse me, bad with numbers today. Anyway, it's really going to be interesting to see what as we're seeing that Travis Rogers is going to go ahead and pit in now, as I'm saying that, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are going to recoup that, and how they're going to get back on the field here and get back where they were.
Yeah, because once they enter pit lane, on average, we're seeing anywhere between 44 seconds and 48 seconds from the time they cross both cones on either side of pit lane is how long they're in there for, which is a very long time. I mean, that's a lap and almost a half here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Michael Everhart's coming in, and then Pete is going to stay out. So apparently a lap 65, 66 is the absolute limit. These guys can stay out. So let's see when Pete comes in. The number 3 machine refuses to come in and is going to stay out as long as he possibly can. I'm very intrigued because, I mean, Pete is the test dummy here. How far can you actually go on a tank of gas? So we'll see when the number 3 comes in. As Tom Ogle's going to regain the race lead. Josh Robinson second. Steve the Mule Thompson takes third. He's got to be coming in now, right?
He has to be.
He is. So Pete's going to come in on lap 67, the tail end of 67. It'll be 68 when he crosses the line. That is a long, long run.
That was impressive. That was very impressive.
Good old Pete said, hey, I'm on TV. Let's stay out there as long as I possibly can. Old Cocoa Puffs is definitely a fan favorite, a driver's favorite. The dude's got a ton of personality and just a little bit of driving skill to back it up. So well done to see him out there, number 3, still holding on to it. We saw him get the most spectacular airtime last week at Chicagoland, where he got pushed down into the grass and then sent the number 3 sailing through the air. So far he's kept all 4 tires on the ground tonight. We'd say it's got to be a major improvement for Pete, the Cocoa Puffs Copco. And he'll get back out there and start charging around on fresh tires. But unfortunately, will find himself a lap down from the leaders after that pit cycle.
You know, and with the performance that Pete's been putting on today in this race, I don't think he's going to have too much of a struggle getting back on the field and regaining that down lap. He might have a little bit of time to get that lap back, but he's got plenty of race left to do that, and I think he's going to be able to do that and get back up here in the top at least 10 contenders, I think, here before the next pit cycle.
I agree, and he's also going out there with 20-lap newer tires than the rest of the competitor. I mean, if a pit window is lap anywhere between 48 to 67, he's going to be able to stay out much, much longer than everyone else before they absolutely have to come in. So it'll be interesting to see how that pit strategy works out for Pete later on today. Meanwhile, Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson still charging hard out front, 1 and 2. They're currently running exactly where they started today, first and second. Steve the Mule Thompson, though, he's moved up 10 spots to take over third place. Behind him, Patrick Milligan and the number 18 Metro Ford-sponsored machine. He's found himself moving up 18 spots so far. So a lot of good drivers making their way up the paddock and making it happen here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, James. These guys are doing a great job today, and I'm really happy to see actually Patrick Milligan back out here in the top 5. Given last week and the little bit of struggle that he had last week, it's great to see him back out here and competing up here with the top 5 top 5 racers. It's, you know, you have Steve Thompson up there as well. Dwayne MacArthur kind of right behind Patrick Milligan right now, giving him not too much draft support. Actually, you got Dakota Pischke right behind him in the number 1 car in that Monster Energy machine, giving Dwayne MacArthur a little bit of draft support there. So they're kind of working their way up towards Dwayne MacArthur, or excuse me, Patrick Milligan. We might see them overtake him. Maybe not. I don't we'll see what the field's going to lay out here for us. But so far, these drivers are doing an excellent job. We've got I think, a healthy mix of different sets of tires, different levels of fuel, and just a lot of different strategies, I think, being played here today. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, it really makes it more exciting for racers, for broadcasters, and for fans that are tuning in at home. Speaking of fans tuning in at home, if you got a favorite driver out there you're cheering on, let us know. We love seeing the shout-outs from all the guys out there watching from across the world. It helps get your favorite driver a little bit of TV time, helps support their sponsors, and helps support the league as well here at the Metro Ford Cup Series, brought to you by OBRL, one of the nicest and friendliest leagues you can find on the iRacing service. And still lots of racing left to go. Halftime will be at 97.5 laps in the series, so we're about 20 laps shy of the halfway mark. Still plenty of racing as we watch Patrick Milligan trying to hold off Dwayne MacArthur, our favorite fast Canadian. Behind MacArthur, you've got Dakota Pischke in the number 1, and still lots of racing left to go. We're going to expect to see more guys coming in to pit around that lap 100 mark or later, as we saw Pete Kopko stretch it out for all of 68 laps. So Kopko may be making it a three-stop race, or maybe even a 2-stop race. Let me do some math here.
Yeah, with that, with Pete kind of being the lead example here with pit strategy, yeah, you really got to be wondering. I mean, is it going to be a 2-stop? Is it going to be 3-stop? Yeah, I mean, some drivers might. I think Pete might be one of the drivers that is trying to push for that 2-stop race here. He might be able to pull it off, given the performance he's put on today so far. It's very likely that he'll be able to do that today, but it's going to be interesting to see if some of these other drivers go for a 3-stop strategy and they're on those fresher set of tires, and Pete decides to stay out on a 2-stop strategy. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on.
Doing some math. I mean, assuming we can watch Pete run 68 laps again and again. If he can stretch out another 68 laps to do his next fuel stop, that puts him on lap 136 when he comes in again, and he'll be able to run the remaining laps easy and have about 9 laps left over. So Pete it looks to me like he's going to go for the 2-stop. I just don't know if his average lap times in those run is going to be worth it. If he gains more than 40 seconds staying out those additional 20 laps over his competitor, or if he loses more than 44 seconds over the run. That's the data I wish I had right now to see if that's going to be a viable strategy for number 3. Because it looks to me like the people that may be on that 2-stop strategy is going to be Pete Kopko, Michael Everhart, Bruce Pearson, and that is it. 3 drivers that look like they're going to try and scratch it. Now, excuse me, I saw one more here. Travis Rogers, the number 72, all pitted around that lap 64 mark. So all of those drivers should, in theory, be able to make this a 2-stop race. I just don't know if the lap times are going to be there to stretch it out to the very end.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, James. It's going to be really, it's going to be tight for a lot of these drivers. I think if they decide to stick with that 2-stop strategy, they're going to be fighting with the other drivers on the field that have decided to go with a 3-stop strategy. Everyone on those 3 stops are going to have those fresher set of tires. They're going to have more fuel available. They're going to be able to push those cars a lot harder, a lot faster. And like you said, that marginal 40th of a second gap is all that it takes to win or lose a race. I mean, it's honestly incredible how much a second matters in racing. It feels like forever when you're trying to catch up. And a lot of these drivers, I think a lot of these drivers that are going to stick with that 2-stop strategy, they're gonna see themselves really doing their best to try and do anything that they can to hold their positions if they're able to.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, we've got Kopko and friends that pitted on laps, we'll call it between 65 and 67. We're going to expect to see them come in again between lap 130 and 138, and then they'll be able to run to the checker. Meanwhile, you got guys like Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson, Steve Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur They came around the 48 mark, so we're expecting to see them come back in between lap 90 and 96. And then as well at 146, lap about 140 to 150 for their final and third pit stop. So that's going to be very interesting to see here how the fuel window is starting to shake up. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it and seeing if we might see some something develop here later on.
Yeah, and really, I think the most interesting thing that we're going to see here today is just the sheer just performance out of all of these drivers here today. I mean, everyone is just doing their absolute best here to put on the best race that they possibly can. Tom Ogle and Josh Robertson, they're both just leading the pack and just being as aggressive as they possibly can. Josh Robertson doing his absolute best to try and stay behind Tom Ogle and just stay as close to him as he can and use that draft support to his advantage. I don't know if we're gonna see Josh Robertson try and overtake Tom Ogle. I don't think Robertson wants to take that disadvantage right now of being in the front and not having sort of any support if he gets kind of left in the front of the pack and no one's there to support him and give him help with tire wear and fuel management.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mason, because right now Robinson finds himself in a great spot. They pitted almost within one lap of each other, Tom Ogle and Josh Robinson. So Robinson has a bit of advantage. He knows, hey, I can definitely outlast Ogle here on tire and fuel if I just keep in tow and let Ogle push through all that air for me. And then whenever he comes in, I come in. And then you'll see him start to battle for the lead. We're expecting these guys to pit between lap 90 and 96 is roughly the fuel window if they follow the same trend that they did in the first run. And then they'll run it out for another fuel stint before finally battling till the end on fresher tires where they can really hang it out and push hard.
Yeah, and these guys have been doing just that, I think, for quite a bit of this race, just kind of pushing, just letting these cars just go as hard as they possibly can. You got a little bit of strategy as far as letting off the throttle here and there when you're going into the corners to try and save a little bit of that tire wear. But I think the biggest thing here today for these two leading up front, a little bit of a blip there out of Tom Ogle there, but he was able to recover that. But I think today is just going to be a lot of strategy for these guys and just how can I hold this out for as long as I possibly can. And so far, man, all of these drivers are doing just an excellent job of doing that here today.
Yeah, I mean, we've made it 87 laps of a green flag all the way around. Hopefully we don't hit him with the old commentator's curse, but these guys put on a heck of a show. Last week we had 5 cautions for 20 laps, and these guys keeping it very, very green so far here at Atlanta. It's one of those tracks that really eats up tires as the run develops, but these guys are absolute professionals. See a little bit of smoke on pit lane as Dean Greer is bringing it in. Greer may be going for a 4-stop strategy today. This is his second pit stop of the night. But, I mean, the quality of these drivers is extremely impressive. We're almost to the halfway mark. And Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson, Steve, the Mule Thompson doing a fantastic job keeping it out front and running very, very clean so far here at the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series.
Yeah, every one of these drivers, I think, is an excellent driver. They're all doing an amazing job here today. And we're actually seeing Steve Thompson he's kind of almost back there by himself in the number 3 position. He doesn't really have a whole lot of competition right now, and I think right now he might, it's kind of up in the air what he might be thinking right now. He might enjoy being in that spot right now, not having a whole lot of competition behind him to worry about. But he's got quite a big pack behind him that's slowly working their way up to him. So we'll see what he's going to have to deal with here in the next couple laps.
Yeah, Thompson, he finds himself pushing air all by his lonesome in his Toyota Camry. He's got about 2.3 seconds to catch up to Tom Ogle, currently running second, and about 0.8 seconds behind him. He's got Dwayne MacArthur with a tow of fast drivers trying to catch up. So let's see if maybe once Steve gets a little bit of more people behind him, it'll help get him up towards the front. And he's also got lap traffic to work off of. That's the number 32 machine. of John Hastings about to go. He's already 1 lap down. Now he's going to go a lap down to Steve. So I think if Steve can keep leapfrogging his way up to the front, that'll help him out a little bit and help him punch through the air. But right now, these guys just clicking off laps, happy to be clean and green so far. Because just 1 caution is all it takes to really mess up a lot of strategy for these drivers.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, James. I think what happens a lot of times too is once that first caution comes out, it sort of just kind of messes with the mindset. I think for a lot of these drivers, and it almost kind of throws them out of their kind of thought process a little bit, and it maybe throws them off their game a little bit, and it just kind of sets the field for the rest of the night, and you kind of are dealing with maybe just drivers trying to get back on track, and it's a little interesting to see what happens after that first incident's happened. But here today we're on lap 92, and it's been almost an hour of racing so far. Actually, I think it's been over an hour of racing so far, and it's just been green all the way.
We're 50 minutes into the race itself. We've been live for about an hour 10 covering qualifying, but I mean, you're right. From qualifying to where we sit, almost at the halfway mark, these guys doing an excellent job, still charging hard and keeping it very, very clean. So it's very good to see the caliber of racecraft you see out on track right now. But look at the manufacturers right now. Toyota is currently 1, 2, and 3. Chevrolet is in 4th, and then Patrick Milligan and his Ford Mustang bringing it up for the Fords. He's running 5th place right now, up 17 spots from where he started. So Milligan has been a man on a mission here today, charging up towards the front on the same tire strategy as the rest of the top 5. Meanwhile, Travis Rogers, somebody we should definitely be talking about. Rogers, his last pit was on lap 64, so he's one of those drivers going for the overcut, staying out as long as he possibly can. And he has worked his way still back up to 8th, so very impressive on his set of tires and able to make that pit strategy work out well for him.
Yeah, and right now he's kind of alone in the field right now, and I think that's not going to really play to his advantage too well. Being this far away from really anybody, whether forward or behind you, you're kind of working that car alone to push all of that dirty air out of your way, and you're just kind of working the car overtime a little bit to push it through these corners here and just give it as much speed as you possibly can. That's going to affect your tire wear. That's going to affect your fuel savings a lot more. So it's, hopefully we'll start to see the pack sort of close in on him a little bit, and maybe we'll see him kind of push up the pack a little bit more. But he's comfortable in that number 8 spot right now. I think if he can just hold it where he's at right now and not let the back of the field kind of catch up to him too much, he should be all right. And hopefully we'll start to see the front of the pack kind of slow down a little bit, and he can catch up just a little bit.
Yeah, right now he's out there just cruising, doing a fantastic job of it. Rogers in 72. Still been having some battles out front as Tom Ogle has given the position to Josh Robinson of the number 23. Still lap traffic they're out there playing with. That's Dean Greer in the 92. Greer is on about 2 laps down right now from the leaders. He's going for it looks to me like a 4 pit stop strategy. So Greer trying something a little bit different. 16 drivers still on the lead lap. Josh Robinson, Tom Ogle have been going back and forth for the entire race. And both these guys doing a fantastic job, showing why they're currently so high up in the points. Steve Thompson's coming into pit lane. Dwayne MacArthur also coming into pit lane. So we're going to start seeing that cycle in on lap 98.
Yeah, just as we were talking about before about that 98 point, we're going to see probably a few of these drivers that stayed out later. Pete Kopko, let's see, Michael Everhart, and I believe Bruce Pearson was one of the ones as well, and Travis Rogers. They're probably going to stay past the lap 100 mark, but we'll see here as the field starts to pile in here.
Yeah, very interesting to see these guys still staying out. I do love seeing the different pit strategy. That's one of my favorite things to see as a broadcast. We get these green flag runs. Really allows these drivers to show their talent on and off the track. So, yes, you've got to be fast and you've got to be consistent to keep that car out there. But there's a lot of strategy that goes into it on how long you can stay out, doing the testing and tracking your average lap time, as we see Tom Ogle coming in, and knowing, hey, this is the limit I have before I must come in. Tom Ogle came into pit lane a little bit hot there. Hopefully he doesn't get a stop and go for excess speeding on the entrance. We'll have to keep it on the number 11, because to me it sure looked like he is coming in hot. As you saw, the number 11 will lock up the brakes before going into the pit row.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't catch an incident for that. Looks like he was able to recover that there pretty quickly before he entered pit lane there, but we'll see. We'll see about that here later in the race. But looks like back on the field, we still have Travis Rogers back out there still, Michael Everhart, Pete Kopko. And looks like that seems to be it for all the people that stayed out late in the race for the first pit cycle. And really, I'm almost thinking to myself that these guys were kind of putting themselves in a position to where they were aware that they were going to pit a little bit later, so that way when everyone else pitted, they were able to regain whatever laps that they lost or whatever positions that they lost, and kind of regain that while everyone else is in their pit cycles. And yeah, hopefully hold those positions there, but it's a really interesting strategy what these guys are doing right now.
Yeah, the name of the game is the whole the pit lane time. It's about 45 seconds, not even counting the time on your lap that it takes to slow the car down coming into pit lane or get back up to speed leaving the pit lane. So we can call it honestly about a minute worth of time that you have initiating a pit stop. The question is for Rogers, Everhart, Kopko, and I believe there's one other driver. I think he's already come in though. Deciding, hey, am I going to lose a minute over the additional 25 laps I am running to make this a viable strategy? So let me grab the old broadcast calculator here. That would mean they need to be an average of 2.4 seconds slower per lap or less than their competitors to make the strategy viable. So going to be interesting to see. Rogers, he's still out there on his set of tires, clicking them off. He did a 32.91 his last time by. Peter Kopko, he did a 33.38 compared to the fast guys of fresh tires. They're clicking off low 31s. So it's going to be interesting to see, as we're going to expect to see those guys staying out on the older tires from that lap 65, 66 pit window. Expecting to see them come in around that lap 130, 35 mark or so. So they've got about 30 more laps on their run before we see that other pack cycle in. And I'm just not sure how it's going to settle out towards the end of this race. If they're going to put themselves in a good position or not to find themselves in a better spot.
Yeah, it's kind of unsure at this point what's going to happen here for these drivers that are still out here on the track from their first pit cycle. It's, oh man, you really got to wonder what these guys have got to be thinking to themselves right now. What the strategy is going to be here for once we get closer to the end of the race here. I mean, right now they still got enough fuel and tire wear to kind of last them these next 20 laps here, 20, 30-ish laps before they need to go into the pit lane. But, once we get closer and closer to the end of that race, are we going to see them come in for a short pit, just get just one set of tires and a little bit of fuel? Or what's their plan going to be here for the end of the race?
I think for guys like Rogers and Kopko and Everhart, they are absolutely banking on now being able to stay out as long as they possibly can and really count on that 3 pit stop strategy to help them out at the end of the race. They're the only drivers out there doing it right now. So if they wane from their strategy at all this late in the run, they have effectively ended their race in a chance of a top 10. So they've got everything riding on that pit strategy, and they know, hey, if we come in now and don't stick to our strategy, those slow laps were all for nothing. So I think you're going to see these guys still remain out as long as they possibly can. And so far it's working for Rogers. He's doing 33.13, so he's got about 1.5, 1.6 seconds slower a lap than second place Robinson and third place Steve Thompson. But we know we're going to expect to see Rogers stretch it out to lap 130 to 135 before he comes in again in the number 72 machine. And right now he's got a 14-second gap, so it seems to be working for him.
Yeah, you know, and that gap is closing a little bit quickly, not too quickly, but it's it's definitely closing a little bit. It's going to be curious to see what Josh Robertson here in the number 23 machine behind Travis Rogers is going to be able to do here. He's got a little bit of help with Tom Ogle behind him in the number 11 car, but it's not very much, and they're almost not even following behind each other. Looks like Tom Ogle is trying to get side by side. Excuse me, it's going to be Steve Thompson in the number 67 trying to get side by side there, I believe.
No, you've got, I think that's traffic working their way back. So that was the lap of Robert Crisco working his way back around, getting in front of race leader Travis Rogers. So Rogers is kind of moving out of the way, allowing those guys to get their lap back, is what I believe is happening. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see about lap 118 to lap 20 is when Josh Robinson and Steve Thompson's going to catch up to race leader Travis Rogers in the 72. As a lot of cars starting to get their lap back here. Here's the 26, Henry Besaw. He's going to get by current race leader Travis Rogers. And everybody's on very different tire strategies up front. You've got Travis Rogers. He's leading the race. He pit on lap 64. Then you have to go all the way back to 9th to 10th place where Michael Everhart and Pete Kopko find themselves sitting, as our other two drivers still on that limited pit stop strategy. Right now, Rogers making it work. He still has over a 10-second gap to Josh Robinson, and he knows I've got to make it about 20 more laps for this this tire strategy to really be worth it. These guys on the 3-stop, they're going to pit around lap 130 to 138, and then the guys who are on, those are the guys on the 2-stop strategy. Then the guys on the 3-stop, we're going to expect to see them again between lap 140 and lap 150. So a little bit of an overlap there, and should be putting people on relatively similar sets of tires as we get ready to close out the race. These guys like Travis Rogers, Pete Kopko, Michael Everhart are going to have to stretch it as far as they possibly can to try and put themselves on the freshest rubber available for their final stint here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, as everyone else will be coming out later on in the race with fresher tires. So they know they've got to hang it out, leave that gap as big as it possibly can get, and then just do a little bit of praying to the racing gods that everything works out in their favor.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, James. That was spot on. You know, and what I'm noticing here too is, except this minor 3-pack that we have here, a lot of these drivers they're quite spread out on the field right now. We're not seeing a whole lot of tight groups right now. Everyone is kind of in their own little spot. We have this pack here kind of in the lead with Travis Rogers and Josh Robertson and Steve Thompson kind of all in the mix there. We don't really have a whole lot of massive packs kind of working their way around the track right now. Everyone's kind of off in their own little area of the track, and it's really curious to see what a lot of these drivers are going to do here to try and gain any sort of position, really, especially when you don't have any draft support or anyone in front of you to kind of let you gain some speed and get around them.
Yeah, it's curious to see. I mean, the lap traffic's also coming into play as well. You've got on screen Steve Thompson. Behind him, you've got the number 66 of Dodd Hoskins, separating Thompson, who is in third, between Tom Ogle in fourth. So all lap traffic, everybody's out there racing for a position, trying to get up to the front of the pack, at least get on the lead lap, and hoping for a caution as the run keeps going on. As we see Dodd Hoskins in his AARP-sponsored number 66 Ford Mustang, trying to stay in the toe of these faster drivers and get pulled to the front, as they find themselves about 4 seconds back from second place Josh Robinson and about 11 seconds gap from race leader Travis Rogers, as they're going to be clicking off laps. They've got, are we going to go 3 wide down the backstretch? We are. As Patrick Milligan makes it 3 wide on the bottom. He's got lap traffic of the 22 machine, Bruce Pearson on his inside. And I believe that was the number 18. Who's that on the far right side? The 37 maybe? 97? That was the 97 of Dwayne MacArthur also in the mix. So things get a little bit spicy as Patrick Milligan showing the youngins how to drive and really pushing his Ford Mustang back up towards the front in the number 18.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the action that we're seeing right now too is just a lot of the front pack is mixing in with a lot of this traffic right now, and we're seeing a lot of different. I don't want to say skill sets, but I want to say just a lot of different strategies being played out here in this field right now, with the front of the pack being all the way kind of in this mix of different cars here. These guys are having to kind of work around each other and figure out, okay, who is an actual competitor here right now that I need to worry about, and who is just kind of here trying to regain a lap. It's a little confusing, I think, for some of these drivers, and we're seeing a little spiciness happen throughout some of these corners here as drivers get a little close to each other, a little comfortable with their lines.
And a lot of these guys too on different tire strategies as well, so things getting shaken up, and then everybody's on a little bit different paces here with having their tires. Some guys are a little bit fresher tires, some guys a little bit older tires that have tightened up. That's Patrick Milligan again, he's running 5th place. Now he's got Tom Ogle in his sights, the number 11 machine. Ahead of them, they've got lap traffic separating Ogle and Steve Thompson. And then look at this, Josh Robinson, a man on a mission, charging all by his lonesome. He's whittled down that gap to 5.3 seconds to Travis Rogers, who is on that 2-stop strategy. Rogers able to stretch that out a little bit longer than I thought he would be able to. So well done to him. He's able to stay out front and keep chugging along. And the more he's able to do that, the more likely it's looking for that 2-stop strategy to really help him out here.
Yeah, and I think it's going to work out for him quite well, too. If he can keep pushing the way that he is now, he's got a decent gap. It won't last very long once he enters that pit lane. But once he gets back on the track, he's going to find himself in an interesting spot because he's going to see all of the other competitors here start to enter pit lane around, I believe, what was it, 140, 150?
Yeah, so he's gonna come out 20 laps. He'll go in 20 laps in earlier than the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I think that's going to really play to his advantage quite well, especially if he's going to rely on this 2-stop strategy. He might be able to put up enough of a gap between himself and the rest of the field once everyone else gets back on track from this next pit cycle. He might be able to hold it out there and stay up there, but again, he's going to have to deal with that tire wear and that fuel savings there right at the end of the race, probably the last 20 laps or so. But it's, like you said before, he's going to have about 9 laps to work with of additional fuel savings and tire wear, so he has a very good chance today of pulling off this race and finishing first.
Yeah, that would be spectacular. Rogers, we said earlier in the broadcast, he's still searching for his first OBRL race win. Right now, he's also searching for his first top 5 in the Metro Ford Cup Series this season. His career best looks to me like it was a 6th place at Atlanta Oval, so this is one of his favorite tracks. They ran Atlanta earlier in the season on March 21st, and he's getting back out there and charging hard. He's gotten 4 top 10s in the series with an average finish of 19th place. So if Rogers is able to make something happen here, he'd be ecstatic with a top 10, a top 5. But if he could pull off a win here, he will look like the most brilliant driver to ever live, as he still holds a 3.5-second gap to Josh Robinson, 2nd place. Robinson came in on lap 98. Rogers came in on lap 64. So Rogers out there with 34 lap older tires than the rest, or the majority of the field right now. So Rogers, again, we're expecting to see him come in around the lap 130 to 135. Every lap he can stay out there and make it a little bit longer puts himself at a big advantage for later on the run, as he will have slightly older tires than the rest of the field towards the last 15, 20 laps of the race.
Yeah, and you got to respect the caliber of racing that Travis Rogers is putting out today. He's just doing an excellent job of being the prime example of just managing your fuel, managing your tire wear, and kind of pushing your cars as hard and as long as you possibly can. You know, and going into it into the start, we were kind of unsure, but now that we're seeing it kind of unfold in front of us, it's really working for him quite well. And as I said before, you know, playing these kind of longer pitch strategies it's a real game of risk, and I think Travis Rogers definitely he rolled the dice quite well today.
Yeah, so far so good. Last week he had problems in Chicagoland. He had to put the number 72 in the hauler earlier. He started 7th and finished 23rd, disconnecting earlier after 145 laps. So the fact that he's able to be out here this long, this late is a good run. Look at this. Rogers is coming into pit on lap 127.
Wow, that is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out for him here later in this race.
So that is an early call. Let's take a look as well at Peter Kopko, number 3. So Peter's one of those other drivers that came in on that kind of peculiar strategy, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out for Rogers. As we saw, Peter Kopko, he was able to go 68 laps on a tank of fuel. If Rogers is able to do that same fuel saving and hang it all the way out to the very end, that will put him on lap 195, so he'll be dangerously close to running out of gas if he's able to make it to the end. He pitted on lap 127, so I'm not sure how it's going to work out for Rogers in the number 72. Meanwhile, Josh Robinson's going to regain the lead in the 23 Toyota. Steve the Mule Thompson's going to be running in second behind him. He's got a little bit of lap traffic, the number 66 Dodd Hoskins. And then Tom Ogle still running third in his Toyota. So Toyota 1, 2, and 3 right now. We're going to expect to see these guys coming around the lap 140 to 145 mark. But who's going to be the most winning gambling racer here, as Everhart and Kopko are still out there on their lap 65 and 66 tire strategy.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting field here, I think, for this for the last section of this race here after this last pit cycle. Once everyone enters the pit lane for the last time here, you know, with Toyota kind of leading the field right now, I don't think they're really worried too much about the manufacturer points right now, since they have a pretty decent chance at winning this one way or another. But as far as the top 3 leaders, they're definitely going to be trying to push each other and see who can come out on top here. But we're seeing Josh Robinson just absolutely just destroying the field right now. He's got a massive lead, about a 2.5 second gap right now. And Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle, they're going to have to work either together or just kind of play a game of cat and mouse with each other to kind of close that gap with Josh Robinson and see if they can kind of compete with him a little bit. But we'll see if they can pull it off in the next few laps here.
Well, yeah, right now you've got Steve Mule Thompson. That's who the camera's focused on in that bright yellow car. The bright green machine behind him is actually Dodd Hoskin, who is a lap down. So Ogle back there in the pink machine, the number 11. He's trying to get back in the mix. And here comes the 72, who's also a lap down. That's Travis Rogers charging back up. Rogers coming out with those fresh set of Goodyears. He's going to put down some blistering laps here and try and regain his lap. Let's see, can Rogers run it all the way to the end here at Atlanta Motor Speedway on that tank of fuel? Or is he going to have to come in for a top-off? If he has to come in for a top-off, his chances of a top 5 will rapidly diminish. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Peter Kopko, he's coming into pit lane. So Kopko and Everhart have come in. Those are the guys on that 3-stop strategy.
We're seeing a lot of different drivers here too that are still a lap down or more, that are still trying to regain that. Dodd Hoskins, Bruce Pearson, Greg McDaniel, just to name a few, are still on that hunt to try and regain some of the that lost lap that they lost here. And man, honestly, it's going to be really interesting to see if these guys are going to be able to pull it off here before the end of the race. They still got one more pit cycle to go. It's going to be a struggle for them to try and maintain strategies that they're using now. They're going to have to work really hard to try and pull something off here in this last section of the race, I think.
No, I think Everhart and Kopko are going to be able to go to the end on fuel. I don't know if Rogers is going to be able to go all the way on that tank of gas, the number 72 machine. I'm still not quite sure about that one. So that'll be very close and down to the wire for the 72 Steve Rogers, see if he can make that two-stop strategy work. Meanwhile, Josh Robinson still out front. Steve, the Mule Thompson second, Patrick Milligan third, Dwayne MacArthur fourth, and then Tom Ogle will round out our top five. Expecting these guys to start coming in and boxing it within the next 10 to 15 laps for the final splash of fuel and going back out there to run it down to the end. As these guys are slowly running out of laps to make things happen. We got that one last pit stop, and then all of these drivers will be charging till the end. Can Steve the Mule Thompson catch up to Josh Robinson and make a pass? Or is Robinson going to make it two in a row and just keep staying out front with a commanding lead?
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen here. Josh Robertson, he's slowly losing that gap that he has right now. Steve Thompson, and he's getting a little bit of support there from that number 66 machine. That's going to be Dodd Hoskins, actually. He's getting just enough support, I think, that that Steve Thompson's going to be able to catch up to Josh Robertson and maybe see a little bit of shakeup here in that first and second position.
Yeah, because it looks to me like Robinson losing a little bit of time here. He's about 0.2 of a second slower than Steve Thompson that last time by. Let's see what it shows us this time. Now it's 0.3 of a second. No, it was almost a full second Robinson fell off the pace. So I'm not sure if Robinson maybe had a scary moment, had to check up, or if he's going into rapid fuel saving mode, trying to stretch it out as long as he can before he has to come in. But that's allowed Steve Thompson to get right on the bumper of the 23. And we've got a battle for the lead shaken up. It's Josh Robinson out front, Steve Thompson second. Then you've got lap traffic, Dodd Hoskin in the mix, followed by Patrick Milligan, who has worked up 19 spots today and finds himself sitting in third in the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, and Patrick Milligan today, he's just been a very strong competitor in this race. I mean, like you said, he's worked his way up 19 positions in this race. That is just absolutely impressive. To come out into a race like this with the caliber of drivers that are here today and work your way through the field as much as he has and go through these pit cycles and maintain that is absolutely impressive. And it's incredible to see him putting on this performance here today, as we're actually starting to see Josh Robertson, Steve Thompson taking over Josh Robertson for the number one position. And you're going to have Patrick Milligan, I think, trying to get in on that action and hopefully make something happen here.
Yeah, Milligan going to the inside. He's got Josh Robinson on the outside. Steve Thompson's regained the lead, and now Milligan will firmly take over second place, and he's going to drop in behind Steve Thompson. So Milligan is doing a fantastic job. He's charged all the way up 20 positions to take up second place. That is a spectacular run so far for the Ford driver. If he's able to score that top three, it's going to really help out Ford on the points chase for the Manufacturers Cup. Milligan, again, he's got 3 wins, 3 poles this season. He's always up front, 9 top 5s, 14 top 10s. His most recent win was at Charlotte Oval back in May 30th. Last week he was 18th. The weekend before at Pocono he was a 3rd. So Milligan doing his best to get back up there and put that Ford on the tippy top once more, as he's trying his best to reel down Steve Thompson before these drivers are going to have to come in and do a final pit stop for the race. Not sure when we're going to see it. We guess around lap 146, as we only have 10 drivers still on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, we're gonna see a little bit of a shakeup here for these last about 50 laps. It's once these drivers get back onto the track here. Oh man, I think it's really going to be anyone's race. We have just extremely strong competitors throughout the top 5 top 5 right now. Patrick Milligan, Steve Thompson, Dwayne MacArthur, Josh Robinson, Tom Ogle. All of these drivers today have just put on an excellent race, and I think any single one of them have a chance at winning this today.
So let's see, Steve Thompson, he's coming into pit lane. Patrick Milligan going to take over the race lead for the Ford, lead some laps in that Mustang. Behind him, you've got Dwayne MacArthur in the number 97. So now it's going to be the final fuel stop of the race for these drivers on that three-stop strategy. Patrick Milligan, he did a 33 flat his last time by. MacArthur, a 33.16. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Who's able to get in and out the quickest? Thompson came in. Brian Glass came in. Here we go. Milligan, MacArthur, they're all coming into pit lane. Milligan locking up the brakes, crossing the line. Hopefully that wasn't a speeding incident for the number 18. We're going to keep an eye on his pit stop here and see if he's being held for any longer than he had to. Expecting a 14 to 15 second pit stop in his Interstate-sponsored Ford Mustang. Milligan taking 4 tires. Getting ready to drop the track. And he's away, so he did not get a penalty. So things are going to get very, very exciting here as Milligan's going to charge out of pit lane and try and regain the lead. Tom Ogle, Josh Robinson, Al Turner still staying out. Travis Rogers back up to 4th place with his tire strategy of the night. I'm not sure if Rogers is going to be able to stay out till the very end here on that tank of gas. It's going to allow a lot of the drivers like Dodd Hoskins, Bruce Pearson, Patrick Milligan now a lap down, Jonathan Green, Dwayne MacArthur should all be able to get that lap back. But where is Pete Kopko? And the number 3 currently showing 16th place. Michael Everhart on the same tire strategy as Pete Kopko. He's running 17th. These are the guys we're expecting to see if they can stretch it out to a 3-stop strategy. As Tom Ogle is going to come into pit lane. Josh Robinson, the number 23, still staying out, trying to stretch it out as long as he can. He wants the freshest tires available on his machine later on the run. But you're about to see a fleet of fast drivers with fresh tires making their way around the race leader of the 23.
Yeah, and we're seeing Al Turner as well in the number 76 car. He's about 2.5 seconds behind the race leader, Josh Robinson, right now. He's on the same pit strategy that Josh Robinson is on. And, we're seeing just a little bit of difference between how these drivers are performing. I mean, Al Turner has... his previous lap, he did put on a slightly better lap time, but this last one he just put down was actually a little bit slower than Josh Robertson. So a little bit of different, possibly just different strategy as far as how they're kind of using what tire wear that they still have and what fuel that they still have. But these guys are still trying to push as hard as they possibly can. Josh Robertson, he's doing an excellent job of that so far. He's got a little bit of draft support behind him from that number. I believe that was the number 97 car, Dwayne MacArthur.
So yep, Josh Robinson, Al Turner, they haven't come in yet. We've got James Strickland tuning in. He's saying, hey, if this thing goes green, I think Travis Rogers is going to have it. If we get a single yellow flag lap, though, Rogers will run out of gas. So let's see what happens. Robinson's coming in. Al Turner, he stays out. Turner in the number 76. The fast Canadian currently out front. And then he's going to have a whole lot of drivers trying to come around and get back up there. Let's see if we can pull up something here. Turner with Turner Motorsports doing a fantastic job staying out there. Let's see how long he can make this strategy work for him as he goes into turn 3, or if he's going to dive into 4. It looks like he is going to pit this time by. And then Travis Rogers will be our new race leader, the 72, going for the 2-stop strategy with TJ's Racing. Patrick Milligan, though, I'm not sure if Rogers is going to have the pace. He's going to have Patrick Milligan about 17 seconds back, running in 2nd place. It is going to be very close to the wire. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it happen or if he's going to find himself losing too much speed later on the run, as Patrick Milligan did a 31.53 his last time by, and Rogers did a 32.74, so about 1.2 seconds of difference.
And Patrick, excuse me, and Patrick Milligan too. He's quickly closing that gap there on Travis Rogers. He doesn't have a whole lot of draft support behind him, kind of giving him that support that he probably needs right now to work his way up to Travis Rogers. But he's definitely got a very good pace going right now, and I think he's going to be able to pull it off here and either overtake Travis Rogers for that number 1 position, or at least get behind him and just stay behind him for at least the next few laps to kind of wear down Travis Rogers' tire wear and fuel management a little bit, so that way he can overtake him and hopefully finish the race number 1.
Yeah, Rogers may be out there trying to save a little bit of fuel right now, but I mean, right now the closing distance we're seeing from Patrick Milligan, Steve Thompson, they are charging hard. They're about 2 seconds a lap faster than Travis Rogers right now. So Rogers, I'm not sure if that strategy is going to work out well for him. Peter Kopko, he also came in has not come in since his lap 132 pit stop. Everhart still riding around out there as well. So I think they're going to still try and make that strategy work out for him as well. But both those guys staying down a lap. So I'm not sure if Rogers is going to have what it takes to run till the very end here, or if he's going to find himself quickly getting past as Patrick Milligan, a man on a mission, has whittled down that gap to 10.5 seconds and closing fast. Milligan driving the wheels off that Ford Mustang. 40 laps remaining. And right now you see Milligan going about 2.3, 2.2 seconds a lap faster than current race leader Travis Rogers.
Yeah, Patrick Milligan is absolutely just, he's working his hardest right now to try and close that gap as quickly as he can. And so far he's worked his way down from, I believe it was a 17-second gap initially down to 9.5 seconds now. And that was only a few laps ago. And, you really got to wonder what Travis Rogers is going to be thinking here once Patrick Milligan starts to get in that rear view mirror of his and starts to put a little pressure on him.
Now, Rogers, he did step on the gas a little bit more. He dropped his time down to a 32.89 his last time by, still a second slower per lap than Patrick Milligan. So he did get back on the gas after, I'm assuming, some very heavy fuel saving. But with only an 8.5 second gap between Rogers in first and Patrick Milligan in second, I think the Milligan's going to be able to catch him up pretty quickly here in the next 5 to 8 laps. And we're going to see Rogers battling for the lead quicker than he wanted to.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what Travis Rogers really wanted to have happen here for this last section of the race. But I mean, that just kind of goes to show what happens for these strategies that you're kind of just drawing out your car as much as you can and trying to rely on what little you might have towards the end of the race and trying to push it through as hard as you can. And having a little bit less fuel in the tank might make your car a little bit lighter, a little bit faster, and that might help him a little bit. But it's going to make it a lot harder to control going through these corners, and he's going to have a hard time maintaining that pace. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do here.
Yeah, James Strickland hit the nail on the head. He said, hey, it's all about tires out here today, especially in this final run of the night. Patrick Milligan does have the fresher set of tires, just about 20 lap newer tires than Travis Rogers, going for that. Milligan is on a 3-stop strategy while Rogers is on the 2-stop. And Rogers, I mean, I'm not going to lie, he's hanging on to it a little bit longer than I thought he would. The gap is down to 5.75 seconds. But I just don't think he's going to have the tires at the end of this run. He's got a freight train of fast guys, Milligan, Thompson, MacArthur, Ogle. They've been top 5 all night long. But, I mean, Rogers, the fact that he's up 19 spots and he's able to be in the position he is a testament to how well that strategy worked out for him. He might not have had the overall speed, but being able to stay out there and be consistent is going to help him out huge in the points. As the 72, he'll be chasing that lead still in the OBRL leagues, but doing a good job. And I mean, I'm very impressed with how the strategy has worked out so far. I don't think it's working out as well as he thought it would or hoped it could. But if he's able to bring home a top 5, that would be huge for the number 72.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, James. I think Travis Rogers right now he's got to be happy with his performance that he's putting on right now. I mean, coming into this race and, he didn't have probably the best start that he wanted. He started 20th, but he managed to work his way up all the way to number 1, and he's holding it quite well right now. He's got a little bit of pressure coming behind him from Patrick Milligan, like we've said, but you know, if he can continue to push as hard as he's going right now and just stay focused and not push too hard, not go too aggressive, and not abuse your tire wear, and not go through your fuel as quickly, he might be able to pull this off. Maybe he might even get a little support from Patrick Milligan a little bit once he catches up to him here in the next few laps. But that's going to be a heck of a fight for that first position.
And the biggest thing I think for Rogers too is he's developing his racecraft. He's getting more and more familiar. The season started back in February, and he started off with a rough 90, got a 27th at the season opener at Daytona, at 16th at Homestead. But as his run developed, he's had a few spatterings of bad luck and mangled race cars, but he's been able to get back out there and start trying to improve that overall finish. Again, his overall finish is in a 19th place, so every race he's able to get more good, clean seat time and keep charging forward. Helps him out as a racer and always helps you out. The data you get from one race helps you out immensely going into the next week's event. So Rogers, he's a very smart guy. He's able to start developing that race program bit by bit, and it's starting to really work out for him as we're seeing his results get better and better. But now he's got a 2.8 second gap over Patrick Milligan. Milligan still charging hard. Milligan finds himself about a half second a lap faster than Rogers right now. So it will not be long, the next 4 or 5 laps, you're going to see Travis Rogers. He's going to see the number 18 in that rear view mirror, and then it'll be the battle for the lead and possibly the race win. As we've got about 30 laps left to go at the Metro Ford Cup Series event here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
And it's an exciting race indeed, James. This entire race has just been excellent through and through. We're at 165 laps, and they've all been green. Actually, we're seeing Travis Rogers go into pit lane here.
Oh, that's not good for Rogers. So Rogers realizing, I don't have the tires, I don't have the fuel I need. So Rogers, unfortunately, is going to be dropping back into position here. I'm going to keep an eye on how long he's actually in it, but Patrick Milligan's going to retake the race lead. He's going to be charging hard in that Ford Mustang. So
yeah,
Rogers,
and Dwayne Oops, sorry.
I say Rogers came in for 4 tires and fuel. He's going to be charging out. I just don't think he's going to have the pace to stay out there. He may be on the lead lap, able to stay on the lead lap, or it's going to be very close to it, but he's going to find himself very, very close to 1 lap down as Patrick Milligan charges through 1 and 2. You'll see Rogers leaving the pit lane here in a moment. You should see him on screen. No, Rogers did go a lap down in that one.
Yeah, that's going to be very unfortunate for Rogers, and with roughly only about 30 laps, a little under 30 laps left to go, he's going to have a real big fight ahead of him in order to regain that lost lap and also regain those positions that he's now lost. But it's really going to be tough for him to be able to pull that off, especially with how much distance between a lot of these drivers that they already have. There's not a whole lot of support going around as far as draft support.
Yeah, Patrick Milligan, he's out front. Dwayne MacArthur in second, finds himself 2.35 seconds back. And then Dwayne MacArthur, he's also got Steve Thompson, Tom Ogle, Dakota Pischke. Dakota finds himself a little bit further back, but a lot of very fast guys running in a pack. The laps are slowly clicking off. It'll be 25 laps the next time they come by. But hate to see that for Steve Rogers. He ran so well all day, and I guess he did the fuel calculations, realized I'm not going to be able to make it. So, again, I can't stress enough, extremely unfortunate to see for Rogers, but he still finds himself in a top 10 position here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So now he's just got to be praying for a caution to come out to try and get that 72 on the lead lap. But, I mean, right now the guy's running so fast, so clean out front. You're watching the battle for second. Dwayne MacArthur leads Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle into turn 1. As here comes the number 72. That's Travis Rogers. He's trying to work his way back up to the front and get that lap back. So Rogers, he's going to be about 2.4 seconds behind the leader on track of Patrick Milligan and the number 18 machine. But unfortunately, even after that, he's going to be a whole lap down. That's a lot of driving left to do in the race to try and make it all the way around and catch up to the guys.
And it looks like actually he's got that lost lap back now. He's got to work his way back around the field now, though, to get back around to the front of the pack, because he's now got. Actually, I take
No,
that
yeah,
back. He's now a lap down.
Yeah, he's still behind. So the lifetime is scoring. If you're selected on a driver, so in this case, if we go back to Dwayne MacArthur, oh no, now he's got his lap back. But if you had your camera positioned on second place, and then the lap traffic gets by that focused car, it'll show if that driver, in this case Travis Rogers, is a lap down compared to the focused driver. So Patrick Milligan out front, still charging hard. Let's see, he did a 32.84 last time by. Travis Rogers with a 31.05. Rogers a man on a mission here. Let's see, we got 24 to go. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I don't think Rogers is going to be able to charge all the way around the racetrack. If he remains 1.8 seconds a lap faster than Patrick Milligan, he should be able to gain that 45-second gap. He's got a 30-second gap now to race leader Patrick Milligan. I'm not sure how long he can hold on to that pace before the tires really start to fall off. 23 to go, but Rogers has worked his way back up to 8th already from 10th. So keep an eye on the 72. He's going to be charging hard for the remainder of this race, trying to get up there and regain that spot. So that'll be a fun one to watch, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, James. And like we were saying towards about the middle of the race here, the top 10 contenders here right now, they're all extremely solid racers. These guys are putting on an excellent performance here today, and I still think that it could be almost anyone's race. Well, probably not anyone's race, but if we see a caution come out here, I think that would be devastating to this top 10 contenders here right now. It would definitely shake things up quite a bit, and I think it would definitely change the pace of the race indefinitely.
Yeah, I think all these guys, I mean, from everybody except for the guys that find themselves one lap down, Greg McDaniel, Pete Kopko, Don Hoskins, I think everybody's hoping to remain green for the remainder of this run. We've done a majority of the race, 175 laps under green conditions, 21 to go, 20 once Patrick Milligan crosses the line, and it's just good, clean racing. Travis Rogers, he still finds himself about 24 seconds back from race leaders. So I don't think Rogers is going to be able to get all the way up there back to the front, but he is sitting in 8th pretty comfortably. He's about a little bit over a second faster than most of the field in front of him per lap. It's just going to be all about timing. He's only got 20 laps to go, so even if he maintains that pace, he'll find himself at least 5 seconds back from race leader Patrick Milligan if the current pacing continues.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to work around a lot of that lap traffic as well. He's gonna have a lot of other drivers trying to perhaps maybe block him from getting around them, and he's just gonna have a long struggle to try and get up to the front of the pack here. And Patrick Milligan right now, I think he's comfortable where he's at. He's got almost a 2-second gap between himself and Dwayne MacArthur in second place right now. So it's, I don't think we're going to see anyone take over Patrick Milligan for his number 1 spot anytime soon, unless we see some drivers in the second and third position start to work together and maybe try and close that gap. But again, everyone is fighting for those positions, so I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of helping hands, so to speak.
Yeah, 18 laps to go. The top 5 all running within a few hundredths of a second of each other. So I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see much. Travis Rogers, he's moved his way up to 7th, so he's still charging hard, searching for that top 5. And he still finds himself, though, unfortunately, about 24 seconds back from race leader Patrick Milligan. 17 laps to go. Rogers may be able to squeeze out a top 5 here if he can keep his current pacing, but time is rapidly running out for a majority of the field. Patrick Milligan, he holds that 1.6 second gap over second place. Dwayne MacArthur, you see MacArthur just leaving turn 2. And then still, I don't know if we're going to see much racing for the top 5 with 17 laps to go, as all these guys are running very, very close times. Everybody on the same tire strategy as well in the top 5. So not a lot of room to be made, I don't think, for a lot of these drivers, unless you see, like you said, Dwayne MacArthur, Steve Thompson link up bumpers just a little bit and start charging forward. Here's the battle for second on your screen. Dwayne MacArthur, he's leading Steve Thompson. Behind them, you've got Tom Ogle, and then a few lap cars still in the mix as well, because Tom Ogle, he currently holds about a 9-second gap over 5th place Dakota Pischke.
Yeah, and Tom Ogle, while he hasn't really been too much of a big competitor here in this last part of the race, he's definitely been trying his best to stay where he's at and push as hard as he can. He's definitely done a great job of that here today. He's been, I think, holding this number 4 position for quite some time. He obviously lost his first place position, but ever since he dropped down from that first place position when he pitted not too long ago, he's done a good job of just trying to stay where he's at and stay there essentially.
Yeah, it's exactly. Just trying to maintain some tires and keep it fast underneath them. Ogle's still in a great spot to try and bring home a championship here at the end of the season. He finds himself in 5th place. He's behind Patrick Milligan by about 23 points. Milligan, our current race leader, he is 4th in points. So the overall points definitely has room to get shaken up here today and allow these gaps to get just a little bit tighter as the season progresses. Still lots of racing left to go in the season as well, so anything can happen. It just takes one bad weekend for any of these competitors to rapidly change who's in the top 5 for points. But man, Patrick Milligan, he's the driver to watch today. He's up 21 spots up into 1st in his Ford Metro-sponsored Mustang, and just driving the wheels off that number 18 machine and putting on quite a show for everyone at home today.
Yeah, James, he's just been doing an absolutely great job here today. And, you know, working his way up from 21 positions, that's just absolutely incredible. You know, you got to give it credit to him where it's due. I mean, this guy's, he's been racing incredibly hard today, and I don't think you're really going to find that in a whole lot of other series where you just have this level of driving and passion where you're able to, like I said before, maybe you don't have the best start to a race, but you're able to come out and you're able to make a statement. And Patrick Milligan is a staple of that here.
Yeah, and all under green flag conditions too today. It's gonna be 11 to go as they cross the line. But I mean, this is a long green flag run, 184 laps so far under green. Really shows how talented these drivers are. A lot of their I ratings will kind of fool you a little bit. I mean, the I ratings aren't crazy here at OBRL. Anywhere between 1,500 to 2,500, 27 is kind of the average. But most of these guys finding their home at the OBRL Racing Series, even if they're not running the Metro Ford Cup Series, they're doing the ARCA Series. They've got a truck, Xfinity, a little bit of everything. And these guys finding themselves going, you know what, I'd rather race with these clean, like-minded folks every week instead of hopping on the official series. So really finding their home and really enjoying some clean racing, as Patrick Milligan still holding that 1.8 second gap over 2nd place Dwayne MacArthur. It's 10 laps to go. I'm not sure what's going to happen if MacArthur and Thompson are going to be able to push back up towards Milligan, or if we're going to see Thompson and Ogle try and make a move on MacArthur. So still laps slowly taking off, 9 laps to go. Milligan still holding quite the lead, as 2nd and 3rd place are doing whatever they can to try and reel in race leader Patrick Milligan's Ford.
Yeah, James, I think right now these drivers are definitely going to be pedal to the metal right now. It's going to be a very fast last 9 laps here as these drivers try and push as hard as they can and do just anything that they possibly can to gain a position, or just put some sweats on anybody to try and do whatever they can to make something happen here. With only 8 laps left to go, and with the number of gaps that we have with a lot of these drivers, it's going to be very interesting to see what some of these guys are going to try and pull off.
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well. I don't know if we're going to see MacArthur and Thompson able to push their way up to the front. Milligan still holds that 1.7 second gap, and I believe Milligan was getting a little bit of draft support from lap traffic, able to catch their toe for just a little while and get back on the throttle. MacArthur and Thompson glued to each other for a little bit. You may see a pass attempt from Thompson here in a moment as he tries to take over 2nd place, but all these drivers doing a good job, especially this late in the run. They're going to have about 50 laps on these set of tires once they cross the line. Not a lot of traction left to burn up and try and make something happen, because everyone knows Atlanta Motor Speedway is extremely rough on tires. iRacing has actually been using the simulator platform to test out what the track is going to be like with the repave. They will be adjusting the banking and making the track a little bit tighter in a few spots, and the NASCAR officials have actually used iRacing to test the racing, get feedback from drivers, and see what the track is going to drive like before actually making the changes. So very cool to see NASCAR and iRacing work hand in hand together to use the simulator as kind of a proving ground before these track owners spend millions of dollars on a repave that may not work out. We've seen it before with Texas Motor Speedway, where a remodel and repave worked out terribly and they had to do it again and spend millions of dollars. So very cool to see the line between sim racing and real life NASCAR kind of blend a little bit as they start working together and figure things out.
Yeah, James, you know, and it's with iRacing, with any sort of racing simulator, it's always great to see kind of real world racing and the sim world kind of collide and come together and work together. You don't see it happen very often, but we're starting to see it happen more and more as simulation and just racing kind of get more popular with the masses, and people start to get into it more and understand the sport a little bit more and appreciate it. And I absolutely love to see it. You know, you have all of these drivers, especially in OBRL, that come together and form these leagues and start these series that are just absolutely incredible to watch. They're incredible to be a part of, and everyone watching, I hope, is enjoying what they're seeing here today.
Yeah, and then I mean, these guys, a lot of new drivers entered due to Corona. Everybody's locked up at home and was looking for an out since NASCAR wasn't racing, and even NASCAR put on some iRacing events. So you're getting a lot of newer guys coming out to the service and having a good time, and then they drift their way over to OBRL if they meet the minimum requirements and having a bunch of fun. 3 laps to go. Patrick Milligan still out front. He's got a 1.2 second lead over second place Dwayne MacArthur. I believe he's got a little bit of lap traffic that stands between them. So I think he's going to charge hard here at the end. If he's got any traction left in that number 18 Interstate sponsored Ford Mustang, he's going to hammer down and make those those last laps as fast as possible. His last lap was a 32.85. MacArthur's was a 32.95. So Milligan's still able to hold some pace here and stay a tenth of a second faster. And you can bet he's using the draft of every lapped car he possibly can. It'll be 2 laps to go right now. 1 lap to go once he crosses the line. Take it back here to second place Dwayne MacArthur. He's got a little bit of a gap over Steve Thompson. White flag is out though at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and I think Patrick Milligan is going to bring it home for his fans across the world.
And just what an excellent race here today, James. These guys have just done so well today, and every racer here today has been super excellent at in this race here today, and I honestly couldn't ask for a better race experience. And there's the
Patrick Milligan.
The checkered flag.
He's gonna win it in the number 18. Dwayne MacArthur is gonna get second, Steve Thompson third, Tom Ogle fourth, and Dakota Pischke bringing it out home, rounding out our top 5. What an amazing race from all of our competitors. That was extremely clean and fun racing. Well done to all these drivers. That could have been, I mean, last week we saw 5 cautions and the driver said, hey, you know what, this is not the norm for us. And these guys going green for start to finish, 195 laps. Extremely impressive driving from all of our competitors.
Yeah, these guys definitely put on a show here today, and it was impressive to watch from start to finish. Every single one of these drivers performed great here today, and honestly, I look forward to more of this series. This has been great to watch, and I look forward to commentating more of this. As we're getting our top 3 lined up here for their photo.
Well done to these guys. Patrick Milligan, Dwayne MacArthur, Steve Thompson, a fantastic run from all these competitors. And we're going to see Patrick Milligan burning it down in the number 18. These guys put on a heck of a show for everybody at home and across the world today for the OBRL Racing Series, the Metro Ford Cup Series, the Premier Series put on by OBRL. We're going to try and get our top 3 to the broadcast waiting room here, following their champagne and victory burnouts here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We had James Strickland comment, hey, caution free at Atlanta Motor Speedway is crazy, and these drivers showing what it takes to make it happen. We've got Dwayne MacArthur showing up. We're going to wait on Steve Thompson, see if we can get him in the booth. Our third place, as Patrick Milligan really celebrates in the number 18 machine, showing what it takes to get out there and put down a clean green flag run from start to finish. We're going to go ahead and grab Dwayne MacArthur in the booth. Dwayne in the number 97 finishing second place today. Dwayne, a great green flag run from all of our competitors. It looked like tire wear was definitely the name of the game here at Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Tire wear played in big today. There's a lot of different strategies out there, and it looked like if you could save, you could run them down. It seemed everybody was always either running somebody down or running away.
Yeah, and Dwayne, speaking of which, you were seeing a lot of different people on some, I guess you could say, some later tire or some pit strategies. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I was just praying for no cautions, as a couple of guys were running long, and they would have been in really, really good position, because no matter what, we all would have had to pit again with a caution. So they really could have got us had a caution come out.
And Dwayne, we know you're feeling good. You're consistently up here on the podium. I know Atlanta Motor Speedway is one of those very tough tire tracks. How do you feel going into New Hampshire next week, as the track gets a little bit tighter and a little bit more aggressive driving is expected among your competitors?
Yeah, very much more excited for next week than this week. I believe it'll be a low downforce package, and that's always much more enjoyable for myself anyhow.
Well, Dwayne, before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank that may be tuning in, supporting you, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, just friends and family, and a shout out to RG Customs, my sponsor there, and a big thank you to them for supporting me, and shout out to Gary Corbett again.
Awesome, Dwayne. We hope to see you up in the booth next week, my friend.
Yeah, hopefully it's the first place.
Keep driving, my friend. Make it happen.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
All right, up next, you've got Steve Thompson bringing it home in third place, the number 67 Toyota. Steve, what a great run tonight, keeping that machine clean from start to finish.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great race. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank my sponsors, Ride TV. They've been a longtime sponsor of mine. And of course, I want to thank Metro Ford, emetroford.com, for sponsoring this series and the broadcast and all that they do. And thanks to all the members of this league, because without the members, we've got no league. So, and thanks to you guys for broadcasting. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Steve. I got one question for you. You started out, I believe, 13th position here, and you worked your way up to third. How was that? How did that feel for you today?
My car felt really good. It was funny because it was like the first part of the race, it was I don't know, for some reason it was a little slow. And then after about 20 laps, my car just took off. So I was just able to gain a bunch of spots there. And then I had a heck of a battle with Ogle there for, I don't know, it seemed like 20 laps. It was probably only like 10 though, side by side. And old Josh got ahead of us by, I think he was over 4 seconds ahead. I figured, well, that's it. And then after Ogle wore his tires out, then we were able to catch him.
So, Steve, great run tonight. I know tire wear was definitely on the forefront of everybody's mind. Any different strategy going into New Hampshire next week, or is it going to be more of the same, just try and put down good, clean laps and bring it home?
Yeah, I'm not very good there. I never have been, so I'm gonna have to practice hard there this week. I've got to. I'm kind of timid, you know. I'm not an aggressive driver, and that track needs a little aggressiveness. So we'll see what happens next week.
Well, awesome, Steve. We greatly appreciate you. We hope to see you in the booth again next week, my friend.
All right, guys. Thanks for doing such a great job. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Steve. That was third place, Steve Thompson, bringing home in the number 67 machine. But now we've got the man of the hour, Patrick Milligan, in the number 18 Ford Mustang. Gotta be feeling good to put the Ford up on the booth here at the Metro Ford Cup Series tonight, Patrick.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely need some manufacturer points in there. We're getting killed there.
Now, Patrick, it looked like you didn't have any problem with tire wear. You were able to gain 21 positions. What was the strategy going into the night, especially having that rough qualifying?
Yeah, after the issue in qualifying, I just figured I'd take the high line slow and easy. And after the first run, I kind of saw that I was picking up time overall over about a 50 lap run. So I just kept running that same line until the last pit stop and got out ahead and went.
Now, Patrick, I got one question for you. So you were kind of battling with Dwayne MacArthur and Steve Thompson and Tom Ogle a little bit. What was that like, kind of going through there and trying to work around them?
It was pretty hairy. Once you get to the inside, it gets loose really quick. So, if you jump down there, you have to be at least, past their front bumper going into the corner in order to come off and have a shot down the straightaway. Yeah, it was tough passing for sure. A lot of great racing going on.
Well, Patrick, a fantastic performance tonight in your Ford Mustang, doing a great job. But before we let you sign off and enjoy that post-race champagne, anybody like to give a shout-out to that may be watching tonight's broadcast?
I just want to thank everybody at OBRL for great racing, and I guess we'll see you all next week. Hopefully, repeat.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Have a great day, Patrick. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Mason, that's going to wrap us up for the Metro Ford Cup Series. That was going to be round 21, Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've still got about 10 more rounds to go. So, 16 rounds to go. So, still lots of great racing left in the season. It was very nice to see such a good green flag run.
Yeah, James, 195 laps today. That was just absolutely impressive. Every single one of these drivers came out here today to make a statement, and I think everyone put on as best of a race as they possibly could. Some people probably didn't have as best of a race that they maybe have wanted, but overall today was an excellent race, and I definitely look forward to next week.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, always bringing the action, 1080p, 60 frames a second, I'm James East, accompanied by Mason Heimbaugh. We'll see you next week, same time, same place here at the Old Bastards Racing League Metro Ford Cup Series. Have a great day, everyone.